Lots of mud, several inches of mud that washed up from the river that's just beside the stadium. What's interesting is over here you can see piles and piles of the synthetic rubber that washed up from the turf, and this is actually a brand new turf that just went in last year, so you can imagine how devastating that is. Right behind me once stood, I guess it's still standing there structurally, but that's the concession stand. You can tell it's been gutted. Right here we got a paper towel dispenser. Over here we got a refrigerator, we have a popcorn machine. I mean, this is just all of it destroyed, nothing salvageable whatsoever. And I think you can imagine from taking a look at all this that it's safe to say no football games will be played at this stadium this season. They weren't taking any chances with Ida. They implemented a number of safety measures. One of those being, I want you to take a look over here. This you can see this 90-degree pipe. They installed a sump pump to take the water in and redirect it away from the building after her home was flooded last week. Let's take a look at these rugs, this carpet. This all had to be gutted from her home. This huge pile of paneling and debris, and all this around me is just only some of the destruction left behind. Where it is not as rainy as it has been all morning, I am starting to dry up a little bit. My hair is curly now. It did initially start off as straight, but what's worth mentioning this morning is the wind. If you can look at this caution tape right behind me, it is flowing, it is flapping. That just goes to show just how windy it is out here. This donut right here is from a McDowell County donut shop that's been voted 6 years straight as the best donut shop. Must mean they're pretty good, right? It's no surprise that Zoom's use has exploded during this pandemic. But is it trustworthy? I am bundled up, as you can tell, and I'm wet, and that also makes for you being cold, but not too terrible. So I think it might be one of those days where initially you dressed really warm like me, and then as the day proceeds and the sun starts coming out, you're gonna be sweating, you're gonna regret. So I guess layer up so you can take off those layers is probably your best bet. New law went into effect Thursday that would allow electric scooters like this one to operate pretty much like bicycles. But Solid Blue fans are already starting to head into Tin Roof Bar off South Limestone. Now this is where fans are going to start funneling in. We're told a little closer to game time. The line is expected to be all the way down the block. Communicating with words can be hard. When words fail him, Kevin Rumley turns to music.
Drumming's always been there.
It's an outlet for him, something he encourages others to find who have suffered like he has.
The passion for drumming, first identified was through my mom. She's like, oh, I think we got a little drummer here.
Rumley's mom died when he was in high school.
I had just lost my mom when I was 15.
At 18, left with not a lot of options, Rumley followed in his dad's steps.
The journey to the Marines was instilled at a young age. My father was a Marine.
He enlisted.
That was my attempt to get some structure in my life, some stability. I definitely got all that, plus some.
He was deployed to the Syrian border.
I was on a foot patrol.
There was a blast. He remembers looking down.
I saw that my legs were blown up in, my arm was blown up in, but I remember a feeling of drowning, a feeling of terror.
An IED explosion.
The medic came running over.
Rumley spent more than a year in the hospital recovering. Morphine given to numb the pain turned into years of drug addiction.
Really anything that would transport me away from just the struggle that is reintegrating into society, being injured, loss of identity.
He saw 26 Marines die during his 6-month deployment, including his best friend.
Was so young. I had just lost my mom when I was 15. I had just lost all these close friends in combat, and then was just returned home.
He finally said enough.
I can tell you that day one of what has now been almost 11 years of sobriety, I had no idea what day two would bring.
But what got him through it?
The honest answer is I've had amazing people in my corner.
They helped Rumley believe in himself.
What advice would you give to a veteran who just entered into the court?
He's now the program director of Buncombe County's Veteran Treatment Court, giving veterans facing nonviolent felony charges a second chance and addressing the underlying issue like PTSD, addiction, or mental illness.
I tell the veterans this all the time that come in and they say, I don't think I can. I can really empathize with that feeling where you don't trust your own ability to change because everything you've done before hasn't worked. And so you have no proof that you could do anything different.
He advises veterans who stand where he once stood, connecting them with recovery programs, therapies.
I have been exactly where you are.
Sometimes a second chance is all you need. From a Purple Heart veteran to an addict, to an advocate for veterans, to a clinical social worker, Kevin Rumley is an everyday hero.
Salute! Good boy!
1 and 2 and 3 and 4.
Medical professionals have said playing drums can help release emotional trauma, something Neil Lackey knows all too well.
I've been dabbling in different musical instruments since I was a really little kid.
Now, he's made music his life and career, teaching private drum lessons.
And let's try to speed it up as we go.
Neil's emotional trauma stems from Asian racism he's dealt with his whole life.
Music has definitely been a really good outlet for me because it allows me to kind of escape all the, horrible realities of life, including, the racism that I've had to deal with.
He's Korean American, his mother a native of South Korea.
Oh, well, Asians don't deal with racism because, they still have opportunity.
It's the false stereotypes that really bother him.
For example, all Asians are smart. That's not true.
Or getting told he must be tech savvy.
Just because I'm Asian doesn't mean I study computer science,
With the recent attacks on the Asian American Pacific Islander community,
A lot of Asian racism gets kind of swept under the rug.
he's speaking up for people he knows won't or can't.
Like my mom, my mom would not call out somebody on Asian racism. She wouldn't be comfortable to do that, she wouldn't know the words to say.
He's passionate about this
1,
2.
because he has a 3-year-old daughter,
She's Korean, white, and black mostly.
and he doesn't want her experiencing the racism he has.
When racist things are said, I think it's really important to, attack it right then and call it out right then. Tell them how to fix it.